first hour. And today is Friday, April 2nd, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or in the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools that I've ever encountered. And these tools are gratefully available absolutely free at whyagian.org. If you go to that website and click on the red and white bullseye, or the link in the upper left-hand corner of most pages, it says Start Here. It will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of that book is a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool that I've been using to great effect over 16-plus years to improve my relationships, management of my emotions, and essentially turn any negative emotional state I encounter into an infallible signal, part of the infallible guidance system that each of us is given. And we encourage people to do that. You can also go and download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file that you just click and download. You don't even need to be put on a mailing list. Print it off, copy it, and use it as often as you'd like. It's a deceptively simple, amazingly powerful tool that contains the core teaching that Michael Rice is calling the ancient Aramaic process of forgiveness. And it is also possible for you to download from that web page a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one, where people have been stepped through the use of that tool. Some of those shows people have called in with powerful testimonials about how the use of that tool has improved their quality of life beyond what they would have imagined. Some of those episodes are people asking clarifying questions about the underlying principles. You can also go to your app store and type in the 3 words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness and get access to a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet, an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. And we encourage people to do that soon and often, because when they do, it usually brings up comments or questions, and they can call us at 563-999-3581 and press 1, and that will let us know that you want to talk or make a comment or a question, and it makes it easier for us to have a show that meets your needs, that assists us in living into our intention to be of service with this show. We're also doing the Course in Miracles workbook lessons this year. This is the 92nd day of the year. And today's lesson reads, Miracles are seen in light. Light and strength are one and the same thing. The idea for today is an extension of the previous one. You do not think of light in terms of strength and darkness in terms of weakness. This is because your idea of what seeing means is tied up with the body, its eyes and brain. Thus, you believe that you can change what you see by putting little bits of glass before your eyes. This is among the many magical beliefs that come from the conviction that you are a body and that the body's eyes can see. You also believe the body's brain can think. But if you understood the nature of thought, you could but laugh at this insane idea. It is as if you thought you held the match that lights the sun and gives it all its warmth, or that you held the world within your hand, securely bound until you let it go. Yet this is no more foolish than to believe the body's eyes can see and the brain can think. It is creation's strength in you that is the light in which you see. It is creation's mind with which you think. Creation's strength denies your weakness. It is your weakness that sees through the body's eyes, peering about in darkness, to behold the likeness of itself, the small, the weak, the sickly, and the dying, those in need, the helpless and afraid, the sad, the poor, the starving, and the joyless. These are seen through eyes that cannot see and cannot bless. Strength overlooks these things by seeing past appearances. It keeps its steady gaze upon the light that lies beyond them. Strength unites with light, of which it is part. It sees itself. It brings the light in which your true self appears. In darkness you perceive a self that is not there. Strength is the truth about you. Weakness is an idol falsely worshipped and adored, that strength may be dispelled, and darkness may rule where creation appointed that there should be light. Strength comes from truth and shines with light its source has given it. Weakness reflects the darkness of its maker. It is sick and looks upon sickness, which is like itself. Truth is a savior and can only will for happiness and peace for everyone. It gives its strength to everyone who asks, in limitless supply. It seeks that lack in anyone would be lack in all. It sees that lack in anyone would be lack in all, and so it gives its light that all may see and benefit as one. Light's strength is shared, that it may bring to all the miracle in which they will unite in purpose and forgiveness and in love. Weakness, which looks in darkness, cannot see a purpose in forgiveness and love. It sees all others different from itself and nothing in the world that it would share. Weakness judges and condemns, but does not love. In darkness it remains to hide itself and dreams that it is strong and conquering. Weakness dreams of being strong and conquering. It dreams itself as a victor over limitations that but grow in the darkness to enormous size. Weakness fears and it attacks and hates itself, and darkness covers everything it sees, leaving its dreams as fearful as itself. No miracles are here, but only hate. Weakness separates itself from what it sees, while light and strength perceive themselves as one. The light of strength is not the light you see. It does not change and flicker and go out. It does not shift from night to day and back to darkness till the morning comes again. The light of strength is constant and as sure as love, forever glad to give itself away because it cannot but give to itself. No one can ask in vain to share its sight, and none who enters its abode can leave without a miracle before his eyes, and strength and light abiding in his heart. The strength in you will offer you the light and guide your seeing so that you do not dwell on idle shadows that the body's eyes provide for self-deception. Strength and light unite in you, and where they meet, your true self stands ready to embrace you as its own. Such is the meeting place we try today to find and rest in. For the peace of creation is where yourself, your true self, you as the offspring of creation, is now waiting to meet itself again and be as one. Let us give 20 minutes twice today to joining in this meeting. Let yourself be brought unto your true self. Its strength and will be the light in which the gift of sight is given to you. Leave then the dark a little while today, and we will practice seeing in the light, closing the body's eyes and asking truth to show us how to find the meeting place of self, the little self, and the true self, where light and strength are one. Morning and evening we will practice. After the morning meeting, we will use the day preparation for the time, and at night we will meet again in trust. Let us repeat as often as we can the idea for today and recognize that we are being introduced to true sight and led away from the darkness to the light where only miracles can be perceived. Today's lesson, miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one and the same thing. Pam Grout's book, The Course in Miracles Experiment, Lesson 92, is titled, Look Past Appearances. She has a quote at the beginning of the chapter that reads, man's concept of his world, built on the experience of the five senses, is no longer adequate, and in many cases no longer valid. Shafika Karagula. Pam writes, the planet you call home is spinning at a rate of roughly 930 miles an hour. It's orbiting the sun at an astonishing 66,486 miles per hour. But unless you just polished off a few pitchers of beer, you probably are not aware of any such movement. That's one tiny example of how we distort reality. Very early on, some say around birth, our minds establish a pattern of perception, and then to proceed to filter out everything else. In other words, we only experience the things that jibe or coincide or fit with our very limited perception. In the book E Squared, I mentioned the girl from the Philippines who said it was weeks, if not months, after arriving in the United States before she noticed that some Americans had red hair, including people she knew and dealt with on a regular basis. Red hair was inconsistent with what she had been conditioned to see and expect. And so, for months, she was subjectively blind to red hair. She saw it as a brunette of her culture. Our brains are designed to be efficient, not accurate. So we take the 400 billion bits of information that are offered each second, and we begin screening them down. We begin narrowing them down. I'll take that bit of information over there. Let's see, this one fits nicely with my ongoing soap opera about the opposite sex. And Lesson 92 tells me all concepts and judgments, all things I take for granted, are distortions that true seeing only comes through light. It says, I'd roll over laughing if I really understood the mental derangement that passes for thought. When I see through my eyes, which basically report a carbon copy of my beliefs, I see weakness, lack, and division. But there is another way of seeing, through the strength of light. Today, I'm grateful that as I give up the hologram I see with my eyes, I begin to see the radiance the brilliance, and the love that shows up in true light. Miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one. So those are our lessons and comments for today. We have 43 minutes left. Plenty of time for a comment or question. Our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And if you call a number and press 1, it will put a question mark by your phone number, and I'll announce you by your area code, and we can have a conversation. What's on your mind today? What would be of service or support to you today? 563-999-3581. Is this Tim Bingham?
It is. I am here.
Welcome,
again.
sir. How are you today?
So. I have a general question about my reluctance to use worksheets. I find that, for example, today I did the worksheet about being afraid to go on the treadmill and reluctant to go on the treadmill. Again, I've done this topic multiple times, and my goal in doing it is that I want to go back to being a little boy and taken care of, and I don't want to have to observe myself as an adult. And then I cancel that goal, and what I end up with is the same sort of grungy feeling of a little boy out of sorts, not wanting to face the struggles of the world. And I don't know how to move out of that place. And I keep doing worksheets and coming to that same place of an unhappy little boy with facing parents who are more interested in themselves than in me.
Okay, let me ask you to clarify. What is the goal that you specified in that worksheet?
That I wanted to go back to being a little boy and being taken care of.
How did you get that goal from the worksheet where you're hesitating doing the treadmill in the morning? How did you get to that goal about little boy from here's the adult who wants to do the treadmill?
If I close my eyes and try to figure out why I'm reluctant to do the treadmill, that's what I come up with.
That's a problem right there. Notice the words that you just said. I close my eyes and I try to figure out. So right now you're not doing the worksheet process. Now you're into figuring things out. And so that's going to bypass and sabotage the worksheet process.
So how else do I figure out what my goal is?
You don't figure out what the goal is. The goal is there. And you know, one of the things that might be instructive for you here is when I talk to people about and I introduce the worksheet process, I talk about the mental short version that I came up with to ease people into what many experience as a very complex 7-step worksheet process. And in that process, I say, anytime I notice that I don't like the feeling I'm having, so if you have anxiety or fear or upset or tension or resistance come up when you get up in the morning and you say, it's time for me to do the treadmill. If you have any negative emotional or physical response come up, step 1 in that 5-step worksheet says, or mental version says, I recognize I don't like what I'm feeling, and so I put an emotional word on it. I'm feeling fearful, I'm feeling resistance, I'm feeling hurt, confused, angry, sad, whatever it is. And then in that process, we understand that I will only ever experience an emotion if I first pour enough mental energy into the thought that's going to create that emotion within my energy system. So the second step is I identify what's the thought I'm using to create the emotion. And then once I come up with the thought and I think it will strengthen the emotion, and then I'll know, okay, I'm on the right track here. So now I've got the thought and the emotion that it's causing when I pour my mind energy into that thought. And then every time that happens, that thought that I'm using to create that negative emotion, it will contain a goal that is not getting met. So the goal is going to be right there, rooted in that thought. So I don't have to go searching for the goal. I don't have to figure out the goal. It's right there. So let's say that somebody lied to me, and I discovered that they told a bold-faced lie, and because of that lie, it's ruining my. It's not ruining. It potentially has a negative impact on my reputation. So I become aware of this, and then I become aware of the emotion of anger. So then I look at the thought that I'm using to create the anger. And I have a thought like, that person has no right to tell lies about me. Or that person has no right to ruin my reputation. And then I find, okay, that's it. The reputation, the thought about they have no right to ruin my reputation, or he's ruining my reputation, that thought gets me even more angry. So now I've got the thought that's creating my anger. Do you follow that so far?
Yeah.
Now, in that thought, he's ruining my reputation, that thought contains a goal that's not getting met. And I don't look very far from that thought to find the goal. It's going to have to do with my reputation. And if I have this thought, he's ruining my reputation, the goal that's not getting met is my reputation is in good standing. My reputation is safe. My reputation is building stronger. It's right there. My goal is never going to be far from the thoughts I'm having and the emotion it's creating and the dynamic that my eyes are showing me are about what's going on in that moment. So when you get up in the morning as an adult in your own house and you're faced with the thought, I want to or I should go use the treadmill, what you're going to use to come up with your goal are only the things that are readily available right there in the moment in front of you as an adult in your own house facing the treadmill and your thoughts about it. You're not going to go back to your childhood for the goal.
So, like, what would be a potential goal there?
It's endless. It's endless. But let's just make sure you get what I'm saying here, that the goal will be derived from the thought you're using to create the negative emotion.
Okay.
And it's going to be fueled by what your eyes can show you and your ears can hear and your physical senses can show you in this moment. Not, at this stage of the game, we're not going back into our past searching for things, trying to figure it out.
Okay, so I wake up and I think I should do the treadmill, and I feel anxious about doing the treadmill because I feel I may not be able to make it all the way through 30 minutes, I may want to quit it. It's going to be very uncomfortable. I'd rather do something else.
So you just right there, stop. You're right on it. So you said, I'm anxious, and I have the thought, I may not be able to make it through 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That's a good worksheet right there. You went on to list 2 or 3 other thoughts. Those could be separate worksheets. I may want to go do something else, whatever. I may be inadequate, whatever. Those are separate worksheets. Right here, I get up. I think I should do the treadmill. I generate the emotion of anxiety because I pour energy into I may not be able to make it 30 minutes. And that's what you'd put on the worksheet. And right there, the goal is going to be derived from that thought that I may not be able to make it 30 minutes. And so your goal is to be able to easily stick to and accomplish the treadmill for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's that easy. It's that direct. It's right here in the present moment.
Okay. So my goal is to make it through 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I would use the word easily.
Easily, yeah.
Because you're generating anxiety with the thought I'm not going to be able to. It's going to be too much. And so the goal has to be basically the opposite of that. That thought that I'm using to generate my negative emotions is always going to contain the goal.
Okay. So I'm with you so far. So my goal is I want to make it easily through 30 minutes.
Yep.
And then when I cancel that goal...
No. You're not going to go to that. Just stay with me. You get a worksheet out, you put in 1A, you put I, Tim, and you read, I, Tim, who am love, I'm experiencing the emotion of anxiety. And then you read how hostility and fear are from internal corrupt data. They indicate my mind's use of what David Bohm calls sustained incoherence, which is a process that doesn't make any sense, but I keep using it anyway. It doesn't lead to resolution, but I keep engaging it anyway. And then I read how my denial causes my mind, my carbon-based memory, to displace my experience of myself as this energy of love and creation and tells me a lie that this anxiety is caused by something or someone outside of me. And then I just put here in 1C, I, am nervous about getting on the treadmill.
Right.
And then in 1D, I write the thought. I'm not going to be able to make it for 30 minutes. I'm not going to be able to easily complete 30 minutes. If you have the thought, I might fail at reaching 30 minutes, that would be another worksheet because that word fail could resonate something else. But you're right there on 1D. My thought is I'm not going to be able to complete 30 minutes. And then you rate how strong your anxiety is in the upper right-hand corner from 0 to 10. How strong would you say your anxiety is here? When you're
8 or 9.
All right. So you make a note there that your anxiety is at about an 8, and you've written in the anxiety, you've written in your name, you've written in this thought, I'm not going to be able to complete 30 minutes. And when that happens and you have that thought and your anxiety goes up to level 8, what's your punishment thought for yourself?
I'll think of myself as a wimp.
All right, so it's to beat yourself up emotionally, right? To think negative thoughts about yourself.
Right.
And here, because we're not using the thought that I'm a wimp as the core driving the goal, we're not really worried about using the word wimp. We just put, beat myself up emotionally or think negative thoughts about myself, and that's my punishment for myself, right? Self-degradation, that's my punishment thought. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep.
And then we remind ourselves in this worksheet, listen, if I'm in pain, it means my thinking is in error. I read that and I remind myself of that. And then I want to release and surrender myself, my emotions of anxiety, again, myself as the trigger, my story that I'm not going to be able to complete the treadmill workout, my thought that I'm not going to be able to complete the treadmill workout, my punishment thoughts of beating myself up. I surrender it all to the energy of love. And I breathe into that. And I recommend for people doing the worksheet that they put a check mark and take a breath with each check mark for that little box in the worksheet. And then we go to number 2 where it says, I choose to love truth with a capital T. I choose to honor truth. I choose truth with a capital T. And I willingly face and process out all of the dis-ease-producing energies for and from all of my relations and all of my generations, which means this could be a big deal. I may not be the first person in my bloodline who worried about being a failure or not being able to complete a task. And then I willingly go through the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms of healing. And I take a breath and put a check mark in that box. And then I figure out what my desire is. What's the goal? And we talked about this earlier. It's going to be directly related to the thought that you've written in space 1D. It's going to be to be able to easily complete the workout.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
And you put a check mark in that box?
I was going too far away before and coming up with my goal. So the goal is right within the thought.
That's right. And one of the traps, the Michael Rice calls it the primary trap pseudo-solution of the non-being mind. You were trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then we read in the side, it says, I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my need to make up another story out of all the brain cells firing in my head to hallucinate proof that I'm right and that my fear and hostility-based story, that my reality is true. I cancel that. And I breathe into that. The more I read that and breathe into that, the more power it will have over me over time as I do these worksheets. And then we come back to number 4 on the worksheet process. It says, I choose love, which is my essence. And when I focus on my conscious awareness on that energy of love, that stirs the loving energy in everyone involved. And I breathe into that, put a check mark in that box. And here's where we ask people to do a little meditation, or to shift your energy before you move on. So go ahead and do this if you would. Close your eyes and breathe into some of the most loving, safe, happy, contented, strong thoughts you have, memories about any time in your life, recent or distant past. Breathe into that before we move on.
Okay.
and tell me when you've done that enough to get a shift in the energy rolling in your heart space.
So I focus on a really happy time.
Yep. Any memory during which time you were feeling safe, happy, secure, content, strong, competent, etc.
Yeah, I'm thinking of that.
And are you strengthening that so you've actually got a different energy in your body, in your mind right now other than that anxiety? Good.
Yes.
Then take a breath, lock that in, and we move into step 5. Step 5 on the worksheet says, when I'm upset, my perception is built out of corrupt data. It's driven by the goal in every worksheet. In this case, it's driven by your goal to be able to easily complete the workout. And this is a limiting picture based on a max of 9 bits of data when there's 10,000 brain cells firing. Today in our reading from Pam Grout, she says 400 billion bits of information are offered to our senses every second. So this is a very limiting picture. How can I know it's in error? Because I have a negative emotion. So by canceling my goal, that part of my mind that just keeps replicating its own ideas and its own false perceptions, it collapses and it gives me direct contact with whatever's in my brain that's been denied and dissociated. Those parts of my brain blame others and project others, my issues, onto others for its content. So while holding that loving thought, conscious, active, and present, I now choose to collapse my mind's lies by willingly canceling my goal for myself to be able to easily complete the workout. And write that in that square or that line. And take a breath and say it and feel it.
So
I cancel my goal for myself to be able to easily complete the workout.
I cancel my goal to easily complete the workout.
And then take a breath and we move to 5B. 5B says, I'm going to invite something other than my conscious logical mind Who do you want to invite? Ruka Dakucha, Holy Spirit, God, Light, Love, your great-grandfather? Who do you want to invite? Okay, Holy Spirit. To incline me toward healing, I invite Holy Spirit to restore me to the awareness of my newborn essence as love, to help me heal my denial and heal my capacity to generate anxiety. And I breathe and put a check mark in each of those boxes. And then I ask Holy Spirit to help me open a direct conscious relationship with and gently remove whatever's been denied and dissociated and is now getting projected into my mind's image of myself or somebody else. And then I want to take a breath and do another little meditation. We've done this before. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, maybe put your hand over your heart space, and breathe, and silently inside your own mind, repeat what I'm going to say out loud. I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my need for anyone but do that silently inside your own mind. Make this a meditation for you. Just try and silently follow along with what I'm going to say out loud.
Okay.
I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my need for anyone or anything to change, including myself. I put my conscious, logical mind on the shelf for now. I specifically cancel my goal in this worksheet. And I ask to be shown the hidden part of my own mind that's actually creating my upset. Just breathe and soften. And open yourself to whatever comes up. Trust that any thoughts, any images, any physical sensations that come up are going to contain something you need to see to begin to heal here and move forward. And just gently repeat, I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my need to figure this out. I cancel my need for anyone or anything to change, including myself. I specifically cancel my goal in this worksheet to be able to complete that workout easily. I put my conscious logical mind aside for now, and I ask to be shown the hidden part of my own mind that's actually creating this upset. And then just put yourself in the most open, allowing space you can, and breathe and soften, watching whatever comes up, trusting no matter how disjointed it might seem, that whatever comes to your mind is exactly what you need to see here to begin to heal and move forward. And stay with it and breathe and allow and trust that anything that comes to your mind is old stuff. It can't hurt you any more than it already has. And it's perfectly safe for you to see it, feel it, let it wash over you, so you can study it in this little meditation.
Well, what came up for me was a time when when I was in college, and during the summer, our family was staying in another family's house in Washington, D.C., and I felt really awful and depressed and sick, and I wanted sympathy, and my mother didn't want to give me sympathy, and we ended up fighting over who was going to be the victim. She wanted people to be sorry for her for having to put up with me, and I was upset that she wouldn't attend to me the way I wanted, and it was a very awful, uncomfortable time. And then,
all right, so that's perfect. Let me ask you to stop talking about that and flip this worksheet over or get a blank sheet of paper and make some notes about that.
Okay.
Just make some notes. There's this time in college, and I was very depressed, and I wanted my mother's sympathy and attendance. And my mother wanted to be the victim, and she wanted people to give her sympathy because she had to put up with me or whatever it was, just all that stuff. Write some details. Write what might seem like innocuous details that come to mind. And as you capture those now, right now as it just happened to you, and you write them down, I just used the word, you capture them so they can't fly away. And it's a very useful thing to do, to take the time at this point of the worksheet to make as many notes as you can about as many of the details as possible. And then let me know when you've got enough down that you know you'll remember this, and you can make more detailed notes later, and then we'll move on. You'll want to make notes about sights and sounds and smells and what the weather was like there and who else was around, and all of those things will be useful to help you uncover why you're stuck here.
I wrote down enough to remind me of the.
All right. And so now we want to move on and have you take a breath and scan your body and notice, what do you feel right now? The strongest emotion and or the strongest physical sensation. What do you notice?
I feel real tightness in my chest.
Okay. So
I want to scream.
So you write that in 6A. I now feel tightness in my chest and I want to scream. And in 6B, you just write what we were just talking about. You just say, see the back of this page. And that's
okay.
And then in 6C, we ask to be shown a time when we have not been able to easily complete our task. And I throw that open to Spirit. I say, okay, let's show me other times where there was a simple task that I was worried I couldn't complete it, and how I use that to generate negative emotions and stuckness in me. And then in the Draw Your Feelings box, it says, I commit to love, which is my true nature, and to living a human life. And so to do this, I want to do a mass canceling of all the times I've ever wanted anybody else to be able to easily complete a task. And if some come to mind, you can put their initials there. If nobody comes to mind, you can put your own initials there and breathe into that. I do a mass canceling of all the times I've wanted somebody to easily complete a task. Does it make sense?
Say that again. I'm confused by that.
All right.
I commit to love.
There's a little box. There's a little box on the worksheet that says "Draw your feelings now" at the bottom, and it says, "I commit to this energy of love, which is my true nature. I commit to living a human life, which is to live my life consciously aware that my true nature is love." So to help achieve this, I'm going to do a mass canceling of all the times I wanted this goal, this number 3 goal, from anybody. Now, we've already canceled my goal for myself to be able to easily complete a task. So now I'm going to go back and say, I'm going to cancel a mass canceling of any time I've wanted anybody else to easily complete a task, whether it was one of my kids, one of my parents, one of my coworkers, one of my employees, one of my bosses. I'm going to do a mass canceling of all the times I wanted somebody to be able to easily complete their task. And just make that statement. And if all of a sudden you flash on, oh my gosh, I was furious when my mother couldn't, in this thing that you just outlined when you were in college. My task for my mother was for her to support me in my depression. And I was furious that she couldn't just easily do that. That would be one of the times I'm canceling here.
Yeah.
And I'm not making it a whole worksheet right now. I can do a whole worksheet later, but that's just one of the times I'm canceling the goal I had for somebody to easily complete a task.
Okay.
And then number 7 says the principle of the universe is that by giving, I first get the original. So I'm going to choose to be grateful for this opportunity to heal. I'm going to choose capital T truth, to pay attention to what actually is in life, rather than the distorted perception that my senses are showing me. And I'm going to choose capital T truth, and I'm going to choose perfect love and I'm going to structure a loving goal for myself based on this worksheet. What would that be? Remember how we talk about we want to make these specific and time limited.
So I want to get on the treadmill and do the best I can.
Okay, but that's this. You can do that again in this worksheet. But you just uncovered that all of the worry and the anxiety and the sick feeling you have in this worksheet when you approach the treadmill is energetically connected to memories you have about times when you were depressed in college and your mother wanted to be the one who got all the attention, not you. And you had that tightness in your chest and you wanted to scream. So I would recommend you do a worksheet on that memory.
Okay.
Or several worksheets on that memory to clear out some of that traumatic energy that you downloaded when you were in college and you said that was such a horrible situation. So do one or two worksheets on the memory that you wrote about on the back of this worksheet from the trauma around college. Got it? And then you can do that before you go to bed tonight, or you can do that tomorrow before you go to bed, and then you'll know when you're done with it. And that way you're not going to be creating unnecessary, unresolvable stress by setting a goal that you don't accomplish. And if you set that goal to do one or two worksheets on that memory before you go to bed tonight, and it's time to go to bed tonight and you haven't done those worksheets, please consciously say, I cancel my goal to do those worksheets, and I ask to be shown how to have a restful night's sleep. At a minimum, do that. Cancel the goal if it's time to go to bed tonight and you haven't done those worksheets, so that you don't.
So is the goal, is the enlightened goal to do the worksheets today, one or two worksheets on that time, and
that's it. That's your
enlightened goal. My mother
goal.
wanted to be a victim. Is that my enlightened goal?
That's it. Because that will help you unload some more of that negative energy, negative self-judgment, traumatic energy, and make it easier for you to see and feel the truth of your nature as love.
But I thought at the end of a worksheet one is supposed to feel a new sense of strength and invigoration.
No, that's an error. That's an error in your thought.
Oh.
There is no supposed to at the end of a worksheet. There is just whatever happens. And I'm willing to feel the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms of healing, which might be stomach cramps, headaches, fatigue, depression, any negative thought I've ever had, and fatigue, any negative emotion I've ever had, and depression, any physical symptom I've ever had. I'm willing to feel that at the end of this worksheet.
Oh.
There's no supposed to.
Okay.
So if you take a breath right now and scan your body and notice how you're feeling, what level of tension or upset would you say you're feeling right now?
2.
All right. I would put that in the upset level, and I would count that a fairly successful worksheet if I were you, if I'd gone from an 8 or a 9 down to a level 2.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to do too much with a worksheet, and I wasn't staying with a specific event that caused the anxiety.
Yes. And remember what we said in the beginning was your primary error was you began by trying to figure it out rather than just doing the worksheet process and trusting the process.
So how does the process work? Where is how does it help me to do the worksheet?
You'll see that over time. Right now, one of the benefits is that instead of thinking it's all about something way back in your childhood that you were trying to figure out, or thinking that it's all about my upset with me and this treadmill today, you just made another connection between the anxiety that you generate with the treadmill routine in the morning and a very unpleasant, some would say traumatic memory you had in your college years with your mother.
Yeah.
And as you do the work to dismantle more of that, then it'll uncover, if you're like most of us, it'll uncover other worksheets that you can do. And eventually, as you do those worksheets, your life will get better. You'll have less anxieties, you'll have less fears, less angers, less hurts, because you're doing the dismantling process that in Aramaic was called forgiveness, or shabag, which later got translated into the word forgiveness.
Oh, so I don't have to figure it out.
Yeah, we highly advise against that. As a matter of fact, Michael Rice calls that the number one pseudo-solution of the non-being mind, of the mind trapped in pain and fear. The number one thing my mind does that when it's trapped in pain and fear, or what it does to get there, is it tries to figure it out. So we're down to our last minute. I need to make the transition, so I will thank you for the call and remind you that this will be available in the archives after Michael and Jeannie's hour, and you can go back and listen again and take notes if you need to. And I greatly appreciate your willingness to call and work through the worksheet. So thank you. All right. You're entirely welcome and deserving. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of this stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeannie Rice.